come on in, come on in. Briefly, I'm back again. I am back again with a direct word, spiritual warfare. This is spiritual warfare, and what I want to say is that there's another spirit. There's another spirit that I'm noticing, and there's another spirit that I'm aware of that's coming against God's people, that's coming against our mind. There's another spirit, and so what I want to do briefly, and I only want about maybe about, I know I just came on because I'm on a certain time limit, but maybe 5 to 7 minutes. But I want to talk about a certain spirit. I want to talk about a certain spirit, and this spirit is called the Black Widow. I want to talk about a Black Widow spirit, and so what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait a few minutes for some people to come on, and I want to talk about the purpose and the attack and the angle of this one particular spirit, the Black Widow. The Black Widow spirit. When you come in, state where you're coming in from. State where you're coming in from. What is this? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, J Cap. Good afternoon, J Cap. Good afternoon. Do me a favor. I always do this. I always do this for those who are first time coming on. I always get the people to text where you're coming in from, and I always give you a statement of something that I want you to confess. And so that's why I have you put certain things in the comments. It is to see it, to profess it. And if it's something that you want God to deliver you from, that's why I have you profess it. I have you profess it because you have to call it out. You have to give it a name. Then you're able to, once you're able to call it out, then you're able to deal with it. That's just like sicknesses, diseases, any kind of condition, anything. It must be first called out. Just like if you take a alcoholic, just simply as an example. An alcoholic will always stay an alcoholic until that alcoholic face and say, well, I got a problem. As long as the alcoholic always blame everything else and blame everyone, but the moment that alcoholic says that I got the problem, I got the condition, it's not because my spouse, my wife, my husband did this, but it's me. And because I did this, this is when your deliverance will begin. When you take the spotlight off of everybody else and put it on you and say, well, God, I need help. It's me. It's nobody else. It's nobody else. You know, I know I blame people. I know I blame this person. I know I blame that person. But really, deep down within, you know it's you that need help. You know it's you that got the issue, the condition. You take that somebody who always blamed everybody. Say, for example, in your life, you've always blamed everybody for everything that you've had. You've always blamed everybody for the way you are. You've always blamed everybody the way you think. You've always blamed everybody the way you view things. Then if you always blame it, that's an excuse. And so when you always blaming someone, you will never get healed. You will never get healed blaming someone. So those of you that are waiting on the healing, you will never get healed blaming on someone. You'll never get healed blaming on the preacher, blaming on the first lady, blaming on whoever it was that did it. You will not get delivered when you say, well, I had a part in it. Because it takes two. It takes two people to do anything. And so when you admit that you had a part in whatever it is that fell apart, then that's when you'll begin. Then that's when your healing will begin. Good afternoon, JC. And so, like I said, maybe 5 so minutes, but I'm going to tell you this. I want to tell you this. This is I had this open eye. I had this open eye vision. I had this open eye vision, and what I saw in this open eye vision, I saw it was like a web. It was like a web. It was like a web, and it was like a join web. It was like a web that was being drawn in. And what I discovered that in this web, it was a trap. In this dream, I discovered that I saw that there was this web, right? And as I saw and as I looked, this web, then it became a trap. And then what I saw a black widow. And this is what one of the spirits. This is one of the spirits that that is really after the prophet, but it's after God's people. It's after your influence. It's after the spirit. This spirit is after your voice. See, because this spirit wants to silence you. This spirit wants you to be quiet. Don't want you to say that at all. And that's what this particular spirit does. This particular spirit will, and it said that this spirit, Black Widow, she will create the scenario, and she will draw her mate in her web. She will draw her mate in a web, and then it says that then they would have intercourse. They would have sex, and then after the intercourse, she will kill him. And in some cases, if she didn't kill him that time, the next time she's gonna kill him. So in other words, after the pleasure, after the fun, after feeling good, then she's gonna kill him. And so this is what this spirit is doing with many of you. Many of you, I can see you. You're trapped, and it's like an emotional trap. That's what I see. I see like a ungodly soul tie. I see like a soul tie. And the soul tie, you're tied within and you're tied without. And if I can say, it's almost like give an example. When it was time for the children of Israel to receive their promised land, when it was time for the children of Israel to receive their portion of promised land, they had one instruction. And that one instruction was to drive, all the tribes was to drive the Canaanites. The purpose was to drive the Canaanites out. That was God's purpose for the children of Israel when they go into this promised land, was to share it, was to not share it with the enemy, but to drive them out. But then after driving them out, then share the portion, share the harvest, share what was there. And so that was the plan. And so, but when it came time for the children of Israel to receive their harvest, they went alone. Instead, many, even the tribe of Benjamin drove many out, but even the tribe of Benjamin, they allowed their enemies to stay. And one of the ways and one of the reasons why they allowed the enemies to stay was because of an ungodly soul tie. It was because of sex. It was because of sex. It was because of intimacy. It was because of emotional. It was because of exchanging of goods, merchandise. It was a hustle. It was a game. And so because all that money was coming in, and because all that sex and all the women and all that was happening, and so then that's why it was this way. And so, but what I want to say is that this spirit, what it wants to do, this spirit wants to draw you. And one of the things that you need to realize about this spirit is it uses the enemy. The Bible said the enemy comes as an angel of light. And so, and first of all, there's a thing called charm. So in other words, the enemy is going to draw you, and the enemy is going to be attractive, just like God said that with loving kindness have I joined thee. And also, if you look at God's grace, God's favor, and in God's favor, in God's grace, that means that you're the favorite. That means that wherever you go, people are going to be drawn to you. Blessings are going to be drawn to you. Breakthroughs are going to be drawn to you, and things that are difficult to other people, it won't be difficult for you. But also, when you have the favor of God on your life, no matter where you go, hello LC, no matter where you go and what you do, that favor of God is going to, when danger come, the favor of God, also the favor of God is God's grace. Also God's favor is God's grace. Also God's favor, God's grace also is a fence, to fence. Grace means to fence. So in other words, when you have God's favor and when you have God's grace upon your life, what will happen even when you're in bad and dangerous and tough situations, God will protect you in that situation. In other words, God will become a fence. So in other words, God will protect you from that thing that's trying to get you. God will become in between that thing that's trying to harm you. It will. That's why God told even Apostle Paul, when Apostle Paul was going through what he was going through suffering, he was going through affliction. And he said that he had sought God 3 times to take the pain away. And many of you, you're in this place where you've asked God to take certain things away. You've asked God take the hurt away. You've asked God to take the despair away. You asked God to take the pressure away. You asked God to take it. And some of you, you're at a place where it's hard for you to breathe because of the pressure. It's hard for you to breathe because of the pain. It's hard for you to breathe because of this discouragement. It's almost like now paint this picture. Now this is kind of figuratively what I'm seeing. It's like picture being on the elevator, and you're on this elevator, right? You're on this elevator, and the elevator is but so big, and this elevator's going down, and this elevator's going down, and you're losing air. And what's happening is the elevator's going down now, this elevator's going faster, and now this elevator's not stopping, this elevator's going down, and now this elevator's going down, you can't breathe, but also the elevator is starting to close in, the walls are closing in. And so many of you, it's almost like whatever it is, it's closing in on you. Whatever it is that you've escaped over and over again, it feels like it's starting to catch up with you. It feels like it, and you're desperate, but let me tell you, God has a fence around you, and you need to understand that there's nothing going to harm you. You're protected. Stop worrying about the future. Stop worrying about tomorrow. Trust God. The Bible even tells us, don't worry about tomorrow. Boast not thyself for tomorrow, but you know what not a day will be or will come forth. But instead say God's will. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But trust God in today. Trust God, hear what I'm saying, in today. See, but you need to know that God's grace, He's there to protect you. And some of you, you're surrounded by witchcraft. You're surrounded by it. You're surrounded by it. And witchcraft, it seems like it's intimidating many people around you. And at night, that's when you're attacked, late at night. Late at night, that's when voices come. Late at night, you hear all kind of sounds. See, but late at night, you know what I'm saying? Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. But also God will abide late at night. He will. See, because some of you might be in a dark place. You might be in a dark hole. You might be in a dark predicament. Something might have just happened to you that is so dark and you can't see nothing else but that. That situation. It's all in your mind. You're trying to shake it. You're praying. You're trying to use techniques and stuff to get your mind off of it. But for some reason, it's pulling you back to it. And you feel like darkness is in your heart so bad, and you feel like destruction is near. You feel like destruction is. You feel like you're cursed. You feel like your marriage is cursed. You feel like everything you do is cursed. You feel like you're living slept rock. You feel like every time you take one step forward, it feels like you take 5 steps back. It feels like something is pulling you. It's like you feel like you're even in quicksand every time you step. It feels like something is pulling you down. Something is trying to pull you down. Depression is trying to pull you down. Discouragement is trying to pull you down. And so you wonder when. You're saying, God, when? God, when will it end? God, when will it be over? When? And you need to understand that God heard your cry and He saw your tears. And so you need to know that stay weary. Don't be weary. What you're doing, if you stay well, if you stay encouraged, and you'll be encouraged in what you're doing, don't be weary. Don't be weary. Don't be weary in well doing. And people might say bad things, but if you know you're doing right, that's all that matters. And see, because God knows your heart, and God knows what you're doing, your position. He knows your heart, and you need to understand, and you need to know that God is going to reward you according to what you've prayed. You need to know that God's going to reward you what you prayed. And another thing, God said He remembered. He didn't forget. He didn't forget. He didn't forget your labor. He didn't forget your prayer. He didn't forget your cry. He didn't forget your hurt. And so you might be weary, but God says those that are weary, those that are weak, say I'm strong. And so at your weak place, at your place of being weak, just stand there. See, because in the place of where you're weak, my son, his legs is weak. Matter of fact, my son's legs has been paralyzed. But what's bringing my son's legs back in strength is that he has this thing called a stander. And the stander locks his legs in, and what it does, it just lets his legs sit there. And the purpose of sitting there with his legs locked in is for the blood to flow into his legs and for the blood to flow into his bones. And so this is why some of you, it seems like you're being healed right here. It's because God is sending blood. He wants blood to flow to that situation. He wants His blood. See, because His blood is His covering. His blood will cleanse. His blood will protect, and His blood will deliver. And so that's why God is holding you, because He wants His blood to flow. Because there's power in His blood. And He wants you to begin to call on His blood, call in His name and say His blood. Because in His blood, there's power. There's all power in His blood. There's all power in His blood. Matter of fact, He said that when He see the blood, He's going to pass over. He's going to pass by. And so He's looking for the blood. He wants you to call on His blood, because His blood means that you're forgiven. His blood means that you're covered. Just know that people might uncover your past. They might try to uncover your sins and might uncover your mistakes. But God got them covered. God got them covered in His blood. And the next time somebody try to blame you or try to nail your mistakes back to the cross, nail your mistakes back to the cross. Tell them the blood of Jesus. Jesus died for you, and so it's in the blood. It's under the blood. And so anytime somebody try to come to you and try to pull you down and make you feel bad and make you feel useless, just let them know, get thee behind me, Satan, because it's under the blood. And so that's my message for today, is that just beware of that one particular spirit. And it's the black widow spirit. And this spirit comes, and the spirit comes sensual, and it comes sexual, and it's coming to get you to break you down. Try to break you down to get you to believe in it, to believe in his tricks, to believe in his words, to believe in his tactics, to believe in his ways. That's all. Just trying to get you. And see, the purpose is to brainwash you. Trying to plant a seed in your head. That's all. Plant a seed. See, all he's trying to do is just drop a seed in your head and just leave. And see, because once he drop that seed in your head and leave, you know you're gonna think about it. See, because you're curious about nature. And see, he's trying to use your curiosity against you, just like he did with the woman at the Garden of Eden with that tree of knowledge of good and evil. He dangled it, and when she saw it, he got to it and started talking to her. Oh, you're gonna live now. See this tree, you can eat. God, that ain't true. God said you'll live. You'll be as God. And so he's talking to you. See, you're looking at something forbidden. Some of you are looking at something forbidden. You think about doing something forbidden. Something forbidden is talking to you. Something forbidden is around the corner. But whatever it is that's talking to you, you're looking to it, and the enemy is talking to you. Don't listen. Don't listen. Turn your head. Turn your head. Don't let them hoodwink you. Don't let them put sweet nothings in your ear. Don't let them lie to you. Don't let them tell you stuff like that. You want to know why? Because the devil's a liar. Because all he's doing is a false illusion. What he's doing, it might seem sweet to your lips, but it's going to be bitter to your taste. It's going to be bitter to your heart. It's going to be bitter to your tongue. It's going to be bitter to your soul. And so do not be tricked by the spirit, because the spirit is the enemy. And because it's coming, you're going to have a good feeling. You're going to have a good feeling. But is the good feeling worth? Is the good feeling worth eternity in damnation? Is that feeling worth the choice? Is that feeling worth the pain? Is that feeling worth the kingdom of God? And so many of you are facing a choice. Either a feeling of God, either a good feeling of God. See, because sometimes with faith don't feel good. Faith don't feel good. And faith is sometimes a bad feeling, because faith defies feelings. Because feelings is connected to your flesh. And feelings and flesh is against the spirit, is against God. Because the Bible says even a carnal mind is an enmity against God. Can't perceive the things of God. Can't, because they're spiritual discernment. So that's why you have to gain the mind of Christ. So I hope this makes sense. And so there's two opposing things. And see, the thing about it, the opposing thing is a camouflage. Is a camouflage as what's right. Is a camouflage as what good. And the purpose is to draw you. And see, this spirit is also a chameleon. And you know what a chameleon is? A chameleon is something that whatever it touches, it becomes that. If it's something green, it becomes that. If it's something black, it becomes that. And see, this spirit, see, the enemy can transform to it. And see, the enemy can be a person. It can be a man. It can be a girl. It can be a woman. It can be a child. It can be happy. And see, that's why the Bible says the enemy comes transformed as an angel of light. God bless you, Australia. And so just beware. And just like the Bible always say, you'll know a tree by the fruit it bear. Fruit don't lie. Just be a fruit inspector. God bless you.